If you're new to QA and don't yet have documented test cases, figuring out where to get started with writing tests can feel daunting. In this video, you'll learn where to begin your QA automation journey and how to effectively prioritize test coverage. To do this, we're going to go through an example exercise of planning out test coverage for Slack's web app from scratch. Let's begin with some basic QA principles. When getting started with QA, it can be tempting to want to test all the things all the time. However, not every test provides equivalent value to your business. Introducing the QA utility pyramid, which gives us a way to think about test prioritization and where to focus our efforts. Each section of the utility pyramid is sized based on the value each type of test provides to our business, not based on how many tests we should have. Let's start with definitions. At the top here, we have smoke tests. These are our most critical tests. They cover our most critical user scenarios or revenue impacting flows, the things that need to work for a user to actually use our product on the most basic level. These tests should be simple and high level, and they're the tests that we should run early and often. In Slack's example, the tests that come to mind as the most critical user flows are probably sign up, login, and sending a message. Next, we have happy paths. Maybe not as critical as our smoke tests. These are the most frequently trafficked user journeys through our app. These are the things we expect to happen and that we expect our code to handle perfectly. For Slack, an example that comes to mind is starting a thread. Next, we have regression tests that cover tactical breaking points in a feature and tend to be a more in-depth exploration of functionality. Examples in Slack's case might be using an emoji reaction or using special text formatting. Finally, we have edge cases that cover the most rarely trafficked paths within our application, the unhappy paths. These tend to be complex and difficult to write, and they may cover things like error handling. There are also virtually infinite edge cases. However, because these infrequently trafficked paths provide very little value to our business, there's little value in writing tests to cover them, at least not at first. When getting started, it can be tempting to begin writing tests to cover the things that could go wrong, like edge cases and error handling. However, we suggest starting with the inverse approach. We're going to start by writing tests for the things that should go right, the things that we need and expect to work. These provide the most value to our business. So we're going to follow a feature-driven testing approach, which emphasizes prioritizing test coverage based on the value it provides to our business and mapping tests to key use cases. When building out coverage, we'll start by first considering our entire application and defining and writing our smoke tests. Once we have those 5 tests built out, we'll want to start using them right away. Then we'll expand down the utility pyramid to our happy path and regression tests. Once we've done that, we'll have pretty broad, shallow coverage of our app. We can then break our app apart into features, going through the same exercise feature by feature. Though depending on the needs of our business, just 30 tests may be enough. When going through this exercise, it can be helpful to build a coverage map in the form of a spreadsheet or flowchart. Sit down with your app for an hour, explore what a user can do, and write it down. It doesn't have to be detailed. Even with a general map, feature or functionality groupings will begin to emerge. If you have complex requirements or are collaborating in a group, it can help to create a basic plan for the initial tests you're going to write, though this step is not required. In your plan, you can cover the objective of the test, meaning the thing that you want to test, the description of exactly what should happen in the test. This includes setup steps to get to the point where your validation steps take place. You may notice many tests contain similar setup steps that may make sense to build out as embedded tests in Rainforest. Finally, you can detail dependencies, specific test accounts you may need for testing, or test data requirements. For more on this, watch our video on uploading login credentials to your test accounts. After a bit of planning, you have a working roadmap for the tests you need to write that's readable for the rest of your team. Then it's time to start actually writing your tests, using them, and benefiting from the speed and time savings of automated testing. Thanks for watching and happy testing.